Murder of Crows, Chapter 2. Walking onto the school grounds felt eerie. It always does if you come after hours, on weekends, during summer break, or way too early in the morning. It's like visiting the house you grew up in, long after another family has moved in. The grass was still green, and the hallways smelled like they always did, but it still felt hollow. My heart began to beat a bit faster as I got closer to the Talon office, where Max, Wynne, and I had agreed to meet. I could hear muffled talking, which wasn't a surprise because I was definitely late. I pushed open the door. Wynne and Max were there, just like I'd expected, but to my surprise, Ella was there too. I mean, I know she had helped us during our hunt for the lit killer, and she even helped keep Max's fake death a secret, but I didn't realize she had been upgraded to a hang outside of school friend. Although perhaps hanging out was generous. Ella was sitting on top of a desk with her phone in hand, looking exceedingly bored, while Wynne and Max were having some kind of heated argument. At the sound of the door banging against the wall, Wynne and Max both stopped shouting, and for a moment everything was still. Max had his bag in mid-swing, like he was getting ready to leave the room, the expression of irritation melting from his face. He had gotten a haircut, one that made his ears stick out a bit, but made his eyes look bigger and sadder than I remembered. He was also taller and broader around the shoulders. It was startling how much he'd grown. Ella was also a bit different from the last time I saw her. She was freckled and wearing surprisingly casual jean shorts and a t-shirt. Instead of her immaculate blowout, her hair was a rituous mass of ginger curls piled on her head in a scrunchie. She looked like a particularly glamorous camp counselor. Wynn's white blonde hair had gotten long and her skin brown from the sun of wherever she had vacationed. She seemed anxious, her hand drooping from where it had been reaching out to stop Max from leaving. For the first time since I'd known her, she was wearing short sleeves. It took me longer than I'd admit to tear my eyes away. Tig, Wynne shouted, and suddenly the arms I was staring at were around me tight as she collided with me with enough force to push the breath out of my chest. It's good to see you too, I laughed, patting her on the back. Max crowded into the embrace, putting his chin directly on the top of my head. You have no idea how boring it's been without you. Thank God you decided to show up. Yeah, I wouldn't miss this for the world, I said, my hands getting muffled in the expanse of his chest. Ella shot me a quick smile over Max's shoulder and tucked her phone back into her purse. Nice to see you made it, she said. I wish I could say the same for this stupid new advisor. Advisor? Max dropped his backpack onto the floor next to Wynne once our hug broke up. Wynne, looking a bit more flushed than usual, hopped up to sit on the desk next to Ella and folded her legs pretzel style. All the chairs were still stacked up for summer vacation. To my surprise, Ella didn't scoot over to give Wynne more room. They seemed strangely comfortable so close to each other. I guess I missed a lot this summer. I really am glad you made it, Wynne admitted. I didn't know if you wanted to help the Talon this year after. What I mean is, I would understand if you wanted to bail. Of course I was coming, I replied gently. I wouldn't just leave you guys hanging. I've been looking forward to this, actually, and honestly, I'm ready for summer to be over. God, same, Ella gripped with an eye roll. I fell asleep on the beach, and there's not going to be nearly enough time for me to fix my complexion before I have to start seeing actual people again. Max pulled a chair from the attack and sat on it hard, primly swinging one leg over the other. I feel that. I almost need a vacation from summer vacation, he said, waving his hand impatiently. Plus, it's nice to be able to see and meet up with you guys again after everything that happened. Without it being on the first day of school, it might have been much to face the halls of this place while everyone was running and yelling, happy to be back, when the first thing I remember about being here was Max trailed off. Wynne barked out a laugh. Yeah, it still feels kind of gross sitting in this room and remembering Ollie being here with us. I had been trying not to think about Ollie, but hearing Wynne say his name made a shiver go up my spine. And speaking of who must not be named, Alice snapped, we have come up with some kind of social game plan for dealing with all the questions and weird looks. I'm sure the gossip mill is already winding up to go full tilt as soon as the first bell rings. People don't just brush off a bunch of deaths, a serial killer teacher getting arrested, and his student protege still on the loose, and like it's no big deal. And the four of us are ground zero when it comes to juicy details. Exactly. And besides all that, Max continued pointedly, we need a happy, positive front page story for the Talon to draw some more people to join the paper when school starts. We can't make things weird for them just because our last newspaper advisor loved to murder and we're all traumatized. He put a heavy finger quotes around the word. But you couldn't tell from the tone of his voice that deep down he absolutely meant it. It's going to be fun to get newbies to join a paper that was run by a serial killer. Even if Mr. Levinson is in jail now. Speaking of terrible advisors, Ella said, holding up her phone, I just got an email from the new one. She was supposed to come this meeting to kick things off and hand out assignments for the first issue, but she broke her arm or something, so she just emailed us some topics, and I guess we have to figure it out from there. Ella sighed in exasperation. She opened up her mail app and turned up her brightness so we could see the pages better. We have to write a piece on Founders Day, went Scott, with a grimace as she read. God, that's so boring. Even Max groaned and rubbed his eyes. I must have been making a face because Ella shrugged. You came a little after the beginning of the school last year, so we missed the last one, she said. Max took his hands off his face and sighed loudly. Basically, every September, the whole town does a treasure hunt to celebrate the founding of Hollow Falls. The mayor hides some little gold-painted treasure chest somewhere in town and makes up some riddles to help people find it. Whoever gets to it first gets a check for $100 and one of those gift baskets full of fruit or whatever, he explained. Everybody knows about Founders Day already. This is like having to write a piece on the 4th of July. Ella said. What? Wynne griped. Don't tell me you're actually interested in this puff piece. Ella shrugged. There's a little bit more to its history than most people know. I overheard my dad talking about it with his weird murder of crow friends when I was a kid. They never thought I was listening, but I always was. Well, we're waiting. Spill, Max said impatiently. Fine, Ella said with a grin. How much do you know about the hunt? Max, Wynne, and I looked at each other blankly, then waited for Ella to continue. Ella preened, clearly pleased by the attention, and settled down into the story. Apparently, the town founder died under mysterious circumstances. He was buried in secret by his closest confidants, and they buried a treasure along with him. They decided to put a puzzle together that could only be solved by the exact sort of person who deserved the treasure. Someone inquisitive, careful, mindful, and well-read. The person who made it their mission to find the founder and his treasure dubbed it the Hunt. And no one has found it in 170 years. Huh, Max said, crossing his arms, curious. That's cool and all, but why does it have to do with Founders Day? I asked. Oh, duh. Anyway, people are getting so thirsty for the hunt that people started getting killed. So they created some family-friendly scavenger hunt in the 1970s, rebounded it as Founders Day, and hoped everyone would lose interest in the real treasure. What kind of puzzle is it? I asked. Alice sighed. It's just more stupid riddles. Apparently, the historical ones we have in the library right now are just the first two, but there were originally 6. The remaining riddles were all destroyed and all references to them were removed from the town records to prevent people from finding them. She sighed again. I hate riddles. They're the most boring kind of puzzle. Let's agree to disagree, I replied dryly. I looked down at my hands and realized I was holding the book the old man had given me at the bus stop. Hollow Falls, a history. Speaking of our town's weird origins, I said, waving the book at my friends, some spooky old man accosted me in the street on my way here, and he told me there's some mystery I need to get to the bottom of. Way to bury the lead, Wynne interrupted. What kind of spooky was he? Regular spooky or Hollow Falls spooky? Definitely Hollow Falls spooky, I said, clutching the book and letter a bit tighter. I was waiting for the bus forever, and I was about ready to bail and just walk. But before I lost my patience completely, this old man wanders up and starts talking at me. And I'm not kidding when he means at me. He says he thinks he can guess who I am and is being really suspicious. Like dangerous suspicious, Wynne interjected again. Not exactly. He seemed too old to be dangerous, I explained. He was the kind of old where if I knocked into him accidentally, I'm pretty sure he would just fall over and shatter. He was like 1970 Willy Wonka spooky. Like the kind of guy who would own a lot of taxidermy. Gross, Ellis said with a shudder. I could only imagine what she was remembering the dead animal collection we'd found in Levison's murder cabin. What's happened next? Max asked, leaning forward, eager for me to continue. So, he walks around me a bunch and then starts rattling off weirdo observations about my hair and clothes. Then, just when the bus drove up, the old man announces that he had been looking for me specifically and he had shoved this book with a letter inside into my hands. I placed them both on the desk. What did the letter say? Max asked, picking it up. I don't know, I haven't opened it yet. Before I even finished talking, Wynne tore open the envelope and shook the paper out. The key dropped out with it and bounced on the linoleum with a clang. Oh, wow, Wynne said, reading. This is... wow. Would you please actually read it out loud, Max said, snatching the key off the ground. Hold your horses, Maximilian, Wynne huffed. Dearest Miss Torres, we would like to extend a formal invitation to this month's meeting of the Murder of Crows, a venerable society dedicated to the preservation and analysis of Hollow Falls history and mystery. We were very impressed with your work concerning the Lit Killer and would love to hear all about the dashing daring do. If you were so inclined to share. As you know, our membership was very affected by the situation, and we would love to share in the tale of form and closure. In return, we would love to extend you to our own knowledge of the Fellowship of Mystery within our town. For a sleuth like yourself, our treasure trove of library may turn out to be an indispensable resource, one well deserved for a person who saved us from the killer in our midst. We will be meeting tonight, Friday the 17th at 8 p.m. sharp. In this envelope you will find a key to the door of the building in which we will be meeting and a map to our location. You are allowed to bring only one guest. Best of luck, and we hope to see you and hear about your wonderful work in person. Yours, Alan Mortimer Wyatt. Cool, there's a secret library, but it smells like he sprayed it with some old man perfume, Wynne continued. She handed me back the letter, and I turned over to find an unlabeled map with the crow marking the spot. A little on the nose, but I respected their commitment. Mysterious, Max said. I figured the Murder of Crows had disbanded after the whole Lit Killer thing was over. Why on earth would they want to keep hanging out when one of their own turned out to be a wackadoodle, killing their members left and right? If I loved murder but didn't want to be murdered, I would just go home, put on some forensic files, and call it a day. I don't know why they're still meeting, Max, but I'd love to find out, I said firmly. I thought about the last time we'd encountered the Murder of Crows. Their obstruction of justice and Lit Killer case still left a bad taste in my mouth. But I guess I couldn't blame them for not expecting the call to be coming from inside the house, so to speak. Maybe this was some kind of apology. So, you guys are in? Are we going to do this? I asked, holding out my hand to ask for the key back from Max. Wynne shrugged. We have 2 weeks before school starts. What else are we going to have? And who knows? Maybe we could even ask around the meeting and dig up some dirt on the hunt to make this Founders Day article a little more interesting. There was a mischievous glint in her eyes. I'm out, Alice shook her head. My dad used to take me along to those meetings all the time when I was a kid. I've had enough of Old Man Wyatt's giant dumb house for a lifetime. Ella paused and then shot me a sickly sweet smile. You'll probably have a great time, though, Tig. It's right up your alley. I didn't dignify her with a response. I'm going to sit out the meeting, too, Max chimed in. I'm trying a new thing called being careful. You guys can be on the front line for this one. We need another couple of stories just to bulk up the paper anyway. So while you guys handle your own dark twist of Founders Day assignment, I'm going to cover the reopening of Montauk Hotel. I'm sure at least that some of the students will want to know if the renovations are going to be completed before prom night. And I'll do the actual fluff work and fill in a gossip column or something, Ella said with a shrug. That's basically already my job here anyway. Well, I'm a game for tagging along to the meeting, Wynne said. Looks like we have a date, Torres. My cheeks heated against my control. Thanks, Wynne, I said, my voice absolutely not cracking. Even though this Mr. Wyatt guy seems weirdly fixated on me specifically, we worked together to solve the Lit Killer case. Like heck, I'm going to soak up all the credit for solving that case alone. You better not, you nerd, Wynne teased me with a grin, gently hip-checking me to the side. Now we just have to figure out on this map. Oh, it's that creeptastic house up on the north end of Minute Street. It has a bunch of crows on it. You'll know it when you see it, Ella said casually, sliding off the desk. Work smart, not hard. And since our advisor isn't here to tell me no, I'm heading out early. I'll see you guys later. Have fun hanging out with my dad and his old folks goth retirement club. Alice swung her purse over her shoulder and flounced out the door. Now that we had the location, this all seemed a bit more real. I wondered whether the Murder of Crows was expecting a whole detailed presentation, or if it'd be more like a Q&A. I'd never really presented a case before, and the thought of it was a bit nerve-wracking. What are you planning to wear? Wynne asked casually. Business casual, cocktail, black tie? I was planning to wear this, I said, looking down at my t-shirt and jeans. Wynne pursed her lips. It's a presentation, and a mysterious one. Might be a good idea to leave some kind of impression. Especially if we're attending the representatives of Talon. I scoffed. Well, I'll wear a dress if you wear a dress, I shot back, ending that line of conversation. Wynne looked me up and down a particular eye and smirked. And Wynn's chosen the dress, Max said with a huff. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into, Tig. Wynne picked up her bag from the floor. Someone has a speech to write, so we should probably get out of here. I'll see you at 7:50. Wynne pulled open the door, blew us a kiss, which was somehow both sarcastic and very, very cute, and then disappeared into the hallway. You should wear something nice, or she's going to outshine you, Max said dryly. He handed Hollow Falls, a history, back to me and picked his own backpack off the ground. Wynne, I said incredulously, thinking about her normal, cool grunge gear. I've known her for a long time. Max tightened the strap on his back with a jerk finalitely. Wear something nice.